Before the age of satellites, before the hum of sonar, there was only the creak of wood and the endless sigh of the waves. Humanity looked upon the great expanse of the ocean not as a map to be charted, but as a realm of profound and, well, terrifying mystery. It was a world that held its secrets close. Whispers passed between sailors in the dim, lantern-lit taverns of coastal towns. They spoke of monsters with eyes like burning coals and of sirens whose songs could lead a ship to its doom. But among these tales, one was spoken with a different kind of reverence, a different kind of fear. It was the story of the ocean's biggest lie. The legend of a floor that wasn't a floor at all, a false bottom, suspended in the abyss. This was a time when the world was still being sketched out, its edges frayed with uncertainty. To leave the sight of land was an act of immense courage. It was to sail off the map of the known and into the heart of legend. Every creak of the ship's timbers, every shadow that flickered beneath the waves was a potential omen. The sea was not merely water, it was a living, breathing entity. It had moods, it had a will, and it guarded its depths with a ferocity that humbled even the most experienced captains. They believed, with a certainty born of instinct and passed down through generations, that something profound lay just beyond their reach, a hidden layer to the world they thought they knew. This belief was not born of fantasy alone. It was rooted in strange, inexplicable experiences. Fishermen would cast their nets, expecting them to sink into the familiar dark, only to have them snag on something unseen, something that should not have been there. Sounding lines, heavy lead weights dropped to measure the depth, would sometimes stop abruptly, far sooner than expected. They would report a solid bottom at a depth that defied logic, only for the line to suddenly give way and plunge once more into an even deeper darkness. These were the first hints of the great deception, the first clues that the ocean was playing a trick on all of humanity. And so the idea took root in the collective imagination of the seafaring world. It was a concept both comforting and deeply unsettling. The notion of a hidden floor suggested that the true abyssal depths were sealed away, perhaps too terrible for the surface world to ever witness. It was as if the ocean had a secret cellar, a hidden realm where its oldest and most profound mysteries were kept under lock and key. This wasn't just a story. For the men who spent their lives upon the water, it was a fundamental truth of their existence, a constant reminder that they were merely guests in a world far older and more powerful than their own. If you're fascinated by the mysteries of the deep and want to uncover more secrets hidden beneath the waves, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Join us as we continue to explore the unknown together. Imagine standing on the deck of a galleon centuries ago. The sky above is a canvas of unfamiliar stars. The world you know is a distant memory, a speck of land far behind you. Below, the water is a churning, inky black. You are suspended between the heavens and a great, unknowable void. This was the reality for the early explorers. They were not just navigating water, they were navigating their own fears. The myth of the false bottom was an integral part of this psychological landscape. It shaped their understanding of the world beneath their keel, transforming the ocean from a simple body of water into a layered, complex and treacherous kingdom with its own hidden architecture. These mariners lived in a constant state of awe and trepidation. They were pioneers, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge with nothing but wind, wood, and iron will. Every day brought new wonders and new terrors. Flying fish would burst from the waves, their silvery bodies glinting in the sun. Whales, larger than any creature on land, would surface beside their ships, their great eyes seemingly looking into the very souls of the men on board. And beneath it all, always, was the thought of that hidden floor. A place where, it was said, the debris of lost ships and the bones of ancient leviathans collected, a silent testament to the sea's dominion. The ships themselves were marvels of their time, but they were fragile things against the might of the ocean. They were wooden shells, vulnerable to storms, rogue waves, and the unseen hazards lurking in the deep. Captains would consult their charts, but these maps were often more art than science, filled with warnings of krakens and whirlpools that could swallow a fleet whole. The false bottom was another such warning, another entry in the long list of dangers that the sea presented. It was a place to be respected, a boundary not to be crossed lightly. To snag one's anchor on this ethereal layer was considered a terrible omen. Life aboard these vessels was a delicate balance of routine and superstition. Sailors would perform their duties with practiced efficiency, mending sails, scrubbing decks, and keeping watch. Yet they would also carry charms to ward off ill fortune and whisper prayers to appease the spirits of the deep. They would watch the colour of the water, the behaviour of the seabirds, and the shape of the clouds for signs of the ocean's mood. And as they lowered their sounding lines, they would do so with a sense of reverence, half hoping and half dreading that they might touch upon that mysterious phantom seabed that held the secrets of their world. The myth of the false bottom was not simply a sailor's tall tale. It was a genuine attempt to explain a perplexing and recurring phenomenon. What these early mariners were encountering was not a solid floor, but something far more extraordinary. They were, in fact, the first to witness what we now know as the deep scattering layer. This is a dense horizontal zone in the water column, so thick with living organisms that it can reflect sound waves. To the primitive instruments of the past, a weighted line stopping or a faint echo returning, this layer of life appeared indistinguishable from a solid seabed. The ocean was not lying. It was simply teeming with a density of life beyond their comprehension. This incredible layer is a metropolis of the deep. It is composed of billions upon billions of small fish, squid, crustaceans, and gelatinous creatures like siphonophores. They are the citizens of the twilight zone, living their lives in the permanent gloom far below the sunlit surface. Their sheer numbers create a biological barrier, a living wall suspended in the water. For a heavy lead line being lowered by hand, the sudden resistance from a dense shoal of lanternfish or a swarm of krill could easily be mistaken for hitting solid ground. The line would stop, the depth would be recorded, and the myth of a shallow false floor would be reinforced. The behavior of this living layer only added to the mystery. The deep, scattering layer is not static. It performs the largest migration on our planet every single day. As dusk falls, this entire ecosystem begins a slow, silent ascent towards the surface waters to feed under the cover of darkness. Then, as dawn approaches, it descends once more into the safety of the deep, away from the predators of the sunlit zone. This daily vertical migration means that the false bottom would appear at different depths at different times, or vanish entirely, adding to the confusion and deepening the enigma for those trying to map the ocean floor. Sailors and early oceanographers were grappling with a puzzle of immense scale. They were witnessing a biological spectacle of planetary importance, yet they lacked the framework to understand it. Their tools were simple, and their worldview was shaped by the tangible world of rock, soil, and air. The idea of a floor made of living creatures was simply too alien, too radical to contemplate. And so they interpreted the evidence through the lens of what they knew. The ocean's great deception was, in truth, humanity's great misunderstanding, a testament to how the richness of life can create illusions that baffle and mystify. The emotional weight of this mystery was immense. For the sailor, it was a source of constant low-level anxiety. The world beneath them was not a simple empty void, but a place of layers and hidden boundaries. What lay beneath that false floor? Was it a gateway to an even more terrifying abyss? Or was it, as some whispered, a place where the laws of nature ceased to apply? This uncertainty was a heavy burden to carry on long, lonely voyages. It filled the quiet moments of the night watch, turning the familiar sounds of the sea into a chorus of unsettling questions that had no answers. The awe was inseparable from the fear. This sense of wonder and dread was not limited to the uneducated sailor. Early scientists and naturalists, the pioneers of oceanography, were equally captivated and perplexed. They approached the problem with a desire for rational explanation, yet the evidence was confounding. They meticulously recorded the depths where the sounding lines stopped, creating charts of a phantom seabed that shifted and changed. They were men of logic, yet they were confronted with a phenomenon that seemed to defy it. This tension between empirical observation and the sheer strangeness of the results created a powerful sense of intellectual drama. Imagine the frustration of a cartographer attempting to map the ocean floor. One day, a sounding might report a depth of 500 meters. The next, in the very same location, the line might plunge to 2,000 meters without stopping. Was the equipment faulty? Was the crew mistaken? Or was there something fundamentally strange and deceptive about the ocean itself? This inconsistency was maddening. It challenged the very foundations of their work, which was to bring order and predictability to the natural world. The false bottom was an affront to this mission, a constant reminder that the ocean did not easily yield its secrets to human measurement. This emotional journey from fear to frustration to an overwhelming sense of awe is a core part of the human experience of exploration. It is the feeling of standing at the edge of a great frontier, armed with courage and curiosity, and realizing the sheer scale of one's own ignorance. The mystery of the false bottom was more than just a navigational problem. It was a philosophical one. It forced humanity to confront the limits of its perception and to accept that the world was infinitely more complex and mysterious than it appeared. It was a humbling lesson, delivered by the silent, inscrutable depths of the sea. The beginning of the end for the false bottom myth came not with a single dramatic discovery, but with the slow, steady march of technological progress. The simple hand-thrown sounding line, a lead weight on a rope, began to be replaced by more sophisticated mechanical devices. These new sounding machines use miles of thin, strong piano wire and steam-powered winches. They could deploy heavier weights that were less likely to be stopped by anything other than the true solid seabed. For the first time, explorers had a tool powerful enough to punch through the ocean's great deception and touch the real floor of the abyss. One of the most significant moments in this revelation was the Challenger expedition of the 1870s. This was the first global scientific expedition dedicated entirely to oceanography. For nearly 4 years, the HMS Challenger circumnavigated the globe, systematically measuring, sampling, and observing the world's oceans. Its scientists used advanced wire-based sounding machines to take hundreds of depth measurements. Their data began to paint a new picture of the ocean floor, one that was far deeper, more rugged, and more complex than anyone had ever imagined. The inconsistent, shallow, false bottoms of old sailors' tales were conspicuously absent from their meticulous records. The final piece of the puzzle fell into place in the 20th century with the invention of sonar. Echo-sounding technology revolutionized our ability to see into the deep. Instead of a single physical point of contact, sonar sent out pulses of sound and listened for the echoes that bounced back. Suddenly, scientists could see the layers. They could see the true hard rocky bottom, deep and unwavering. And suspended far above it, they could see another, fainter echo. It was a diffuse, fuzzy layer that moved. It rose at night and fell during the day. It was not a floor of rock, but a cloud of life. The science had finally caught up with the legend. The echo sounder revealed the deep, scattering layer for what it was, a biological phenomenon of breathtaking scale. The sonar screen provided the definitive evidence that had eluded explorers for centuries. It showed, without a shadow of a doubt, that the false bottom was not a lie, but a misunderstanding. It was the echo of a hidden, migratory world. The mystery was solved, not by dismissing the old stories, but by illuminating them with a new and more powerful kind of light, the light of scientific understanding. The sounding line's final revelation was that the truth was even more wondrous than the myth. Today, we live in an age of incredible knowledge. We have mapped the abyssal plains, charted the deepest trenches, and identified thousands of the creatures that call the deep sea home. The myth of the false bottom has been explained, its secrets laid bare by the relentless curiosity of science. And yet, does this knowledge diminish the ocean's power to inspire awe? Or does it, in fact, enhance it? Knowing that the phantom floor of legend is actually a living, breathing, migrating wall of life, the greatest migration on the planet, is surely more magical than any story of a simple, rocky ledge. The story of the false bottom is a parable for our relationship with the natural world. It reminds us that our perception is limited. It teaches us that what we interpret as supernatural or mysterious is often just a part of nature that we do not yet understand. The ocean does not keep secrets maliciously. It simply operates on a scale and by rules that are alien to our terrestrial experience. For every mystery we solve, the ocean presents us with a dozen more. We have learned about the deep scattering layer, but what of the creatures that live in the crushing pressures of the Hadal zone? What of the strange ecosystems that thrive around hydrothermal vents, powered by the Earth's inner heat instead of the sun? Humanity's fascination with the ocean is eternal, because the ocean itself is a realm of eternal discovery. It is the cradle of life on our planet, and its depths still hold the answers to the most fundamental questions of our own origins. To look out at the sea is to look back in time. It is to feel a connection to those early sailors who faced the unknown with a mixture of fear and courage. They were wrong about the false bottom, but they were right about something far more important. They were right that the ocean was a place of profound and unending wonder. And so we continue to explore. We send submersibles into the crushing dark, we deploy robotic mappers to chart the unseen landscapes, and we listen to the sounds of the deep, hoping to understand its language. The ocean remains our planet's final frontier, a vast wilderness that still holds the power to humble us, to challenge our assumptions, and to fill us with the sense of awe that is as deep and as powerful as the sea itself. The greatest truth the ocean has ever taught us is that the more we learn, the more we realize how much is left to discover. Its mysteries are not a lie, but an invitation.